Good morning. A very happy new year from Odyssey, a journey of life. This is a program where we will be chatting with the eminent personality and know about their journey of life. Today we have a special person, Mr. Suresh. A warm welcome to you, Mr. Suresh.
Thank
I
you
would
very
like
much, Thank you very much, Dr. Srilata. Nice to be associated with Odyssey.
thank you. I would like to give a brief description about Mr. Suresh. He's a gold medal from and a law graduate with vast experience in manufacturing, IT, and even in telecom. Apart from this, he's a good rapport with the students as well as a management. I mean to say he's a faculty member and he's a visiting faculty MBA for MBA and IIM and even for law graduate. He's a corporate trainer too. I don't want to take much time, Mr. Suresh. Can you tell us about yourself? And you mentioned that you worked in a corporate company as well as in the education field. Is there a vast? There is a vast difference between both the. It's both far apart. Can you tell us something about it?
Yes, once again, a very happy new year to the dear viewers. We hope and pray that 2021 will be a wonderful and prosperous, lovely new year for all of us. So, with these few
Yes.
words, let me begin. As you rightly said, Dr. Srilata, I have been in the corporate for a long time and then I switched to teaching. I teach for the MBA students and also teach for the law students. Your question
Yeah.
was, is there a vast difference? And why is there a vast difference between corporates and academics? And what is the
Yeah.
reason why you shifted? Yes, there is a vast difference between corporate world and academic world. The first difference is in the field of academics, students are taught knowledge. But
That's right.
whereas when we move to the corporate world, we require knowledge as well as skills. So, one reason why I felt that I should get into academics was I found usually students struggling a lot between integrating academics with corporate. Example,
You mean you mean to say the practical and the theory?
yes, there is a vast difference. For example, you talk to any BCom student or MCom student, they have studied
Yeah.
commerce for 3 years or 5 years. They can
Right.
never file their own income tax return. So
Very
that is
true.
why in every line, whether it is commerce, whether it's HR, whether it's got to do with marketing, MBA marketing students, in academics, they will get a first class. But you ask them to go outside and sell, it's very difficult. It takes a long time for them to get adjusted to reality. This is there in all professions, including my
Okay.
law profession. I teach for
Okay.
the law students. I also go to some leading institutes, including Christ University and the National Law School.
Okay.
Students get very good marks when they complete their law. But practically, to argue a case, to win a case, to stand before the judge, to put your arguments effectively, this takes time. This is not really taught too much in the law colleges, because their focus is more on knowledge, a little bit on skills. I'm not saying skills are not provided, but the actual skills which are provided is less than 10 to 15%. The balance 80-85%, they have to go outside to the real world and pick it up. So that is why I found out that in many colleges, you have very good academicians who are highly qualified. They are all PhDs, but unfortunately, they would not have worked in a corporate, or they would not have worked in a business environment, nor would they be advocates or judges.
Okay.
So when
Okay.
corporate people go to colleges, we are able to link theory and practice. And for every theory aspect, if we give out the practicality which is happening in the real world, it warms them up. It warms them up. And tomorrow, when they join the corporate, it becomes easier. They get integrated to their chosen profession much faster.
Okay.
Second important thing is people should find out what is their passion and choose a particular profession based on their passion. Any job in this world, a turner, fitter, plumber, carpenter, or whether it's a software engineer, or whether it's a lawyer, or it's a professor, finally only two things are required: job knowledge and skills, and secondly the interest, enthusiasm, or passion. So sometimes when we bring the practicality to the class, the students will recheck whether they have the passion for that profession, and they can also alter their profession depending upon their passion. Because if many students join a line without passion, they are not going to be successful. So in that way, it helps the students a lot to get to know the practicality of the professional world, and helps them in choosing their career, and also making them rise to their fullest potential and attaining success in their chosen profession. So since I had a liking for this, I switched from corporate to academics. Today I still have one leg in the corporate and one leg in academics, and I'm doing my best to integrate these two. I am a bridge between the academic world and the corporate world, which I find students getting lots of rewards. If they find it very rewarding.
Okay. And it's said that you're an advisor to few of the companies also.
Yes.
So, yeah, is it isn't it a difficult work to, as well as a faculty, and in a corporate world, do you in as an advisor, what type of advising or advisory advice do you give to the employers? What type of problems do you face, or do these
Mhm.
employees, employer or employee, both they face in the corporate world?
Okay, I'll just take a 1 minute for introducing this topic, and then I'll get into the specifics. Madam, today business is complex, business is tough, business is an enigma, business is a mystery. There is no formula for business. Tatas with 150 years experience went wrong in their Tata Nano.
Very.
So business is not a science, business is an art. You require certain scientific principles, but it's more of an art subject. So that is
Yes.
why employers are always confused as to whether their business is growing or not. Business requires innovation, business requires creativity, business requires hard work, business requires honesty. Till today in
Yes.
India, even after 73 years, we do not know how to make a Mercedes Benz. We cannot make an Audi car. We have not given a reply to Google. We have not given a reply to Facebook. We still do not know how to make a television of international standards. We still do not have a good mobile phone which is of international standards. So in the field of business, we in India have still got a long way to go, though we are very happy with some of the great Indians like Satya Nadella, who's heading Microsoft, or for that matter Sundar Pichai, who is heading Google, or Indra Nooyi,
Yeah.
who is heading Pepsi. So Indians
Yes.
are moving forward, but still a long way to go as far as embracing business completely and making India a great business nation. So whenever we go to corporates, we talk to the CEOs, tell them what are the new businesses which they can enter into, how they can be more creative and innovative, how they could add value to the customers, and what we could do to make India a business nation quickly. So we have attained a good degree of success, but still we have a long way to go. So this is one type of advice. The second type of advice is functional advice. For example, in the field of HR, in the field of finance, in the field of sales and marketing, look at all international companies who have come here, like a McDonald's or a KFC or a California Burrito or a Subway or a Coca-Cola or a Pepsi. They have met with remarkable success. So why not we also be innovative? Why not be creative? Now, especially, now about 30,000 products have almost been banned from China. So now there is
Right.
huge scope
Right.
for
Right. Yes.
India to manufacture all those things. So we want the manufacturing sector to get boosted up. So we give them lots of advice as to how they could take their company forward. And we have to emerge quickly as a business nation, because if you take up all leading countries, they're all great because of business. Business generates job employment, makes the country richer, standard of living goes up. So therefore, such type of advices we give to the CEOs. We want youngsters to become entrepreneurs. We require more entrepreneurs today. So like this, we just motivate, encourage, and try to bring about vibrancy so that India transforms itself quickly.
Yeah, that's nice, as Mr. Suresh.
Thank
Um,
you.
just now you said most of the companies are not as developed as it is in India. Maybe so. What is your view about India getting developed?
Very good question. Uh, one because it requires a big answer, but I will try to tell it in a capsule form.
Right.
One measurement of a growth of a nation is its GDP. Now, we have been growing, but you will find that always there is a sudden break. In 1991, we embraced a little bit of capitalism, liberalization, privatization, globalization. That did something good for the Indian economy. Our Indian economy started progressing. And then we started moving to a GDP of 6%, 7%, 8%. All these things was there in 2003, 4, 5, 6, up to 7.
Okay.
Unfortunately, in 2008, there was the dot-com burst. And then 2012, there was a little downturn. And this year, 2020, COVID has affected us. So for a nation to be great like India, we have to consistently be at a GDP of 8 to 9% every year, so that the cumulative GDP will be around 16, 17%, and then we can declare ourselves as a developed nation. So that would take another 10 to 15 years, because consistently we should touch 8 to 9% GDP. Now,
But
to touch
for
8
that,
to 9% GDP, business is one interesting route which helps to take the nation greater, greater, greater. Agriculture is very important because we are primarily an agricultural nation. But though there are about 60 to 65% of the Indians in agriculture, what they contribute to the GDP or they contribute to the Indian economy
yeah.
is only 16%. So we want more of industries to come so that these two go hand in hand to make India a developed nation. So therefore, lots of interesting things are lined up. We have a
Okay.
huge quantity of human resources. If we can tap
Mhm.
these human resources and make them rise to their fullest capabilities and potential, India will be a developed nation in the next 10 to 12 years. Standard of living goes up, poverty is eliminated, job opportunities are more. So therefore, you have very interesting things when it comes to a highly developed nation. I will just tell
Right.
only one small story so that this story is little motivating, and
Yes.
this is
Sure.
what we are aiming at.
Sure.
A teacher takes three students to a circus, and he asks the first all the three students, why are these elephants doing these funny tricks in the circus ring? The first student says, the elephants are doing all this because it is trained to do all that. The moment you keep a ball, it's kicking. The moment you
Yeah.
throw a ball, it is hitting with a bat. The second student thinks and says it is not only training, there is a lot of fear. These three elephants know that in case they don't do all these things, the mahout will prick it with a red hot iron, or it will not be given food, or it will be tied and beaten. So there is an element of fear also. The third student, who's a very intelligent boy, thinks and says, "Sir, the elephants are tall, elephants are gigantic, elephants are the lord of the jungle. They can kill human beings, they can kill other animals, they can
Yeah.
uproot trees, they can run behind trains, and they can bring down buildings. But unfortunately, these three circus elephants don't know who they really are. If only they know who they really are, I and you will not be watching this circus. It would have played football with all of us and walked
Yes.
off." You agree to
Yes.
this, madam? You agree to
Yes.
this?
Yes. Yes.
That's
Very true.
why
Very true.
God has given to all human beings layers and layers and layers of potential. We ourselves don't know what is the potential we have. Many times, we behave like circus elephants, though we are the jungle elephants. The function which I have embraced is HR, and human resources is all about tapping the potentials. If we can tap the potentials of our youngsters still higher and higher and higher and higher, India will be a developed nation much, much, much faster. So, therefore, I am very positive that in the next 1 decade or so, you will see lots of changes in India. The
Okay.
world is
That's nice.
embracing technology very fast. Knowledge is moving at a very furious pace. And in every walk of life, the body of knowledge is multiplying every 3 or 4 years, doubling its knowledge capacity. So, our Indian youngsters should adopt to these latest technologies, innovation, and creativity much faster, so that we are on the growth to progress and we become a fully developed nation by the year 2030. So,
Okay. So
these are
another
the,
9
yeah,
years to go.
nine
Yes.
years to go. Yeah.
Provided there won't be any fall down or anything about in our country.
Yes, yes, we should all pray because get these sudden breaks. Like, for example, we got a sudden break because of COVID-19. So, like this, we only hope and pray that these breaks are no longer coming, at least for the next at least 1 decade or so. But then, even if a break comes, we Indians are resilient. We can bounce back. Just look at the vaccines. Earlier, it used to take 8 to 9 years to come out with a vaccine. Today, in almost 7 to 8 months, we are able to come out with a vaccine. So,
Yeah,
phenomenal
that's
progress
true.
is happening. It is
Today
like you are
vaccines are
running.
there.
Yeah, it is like you are running. You slip and fall down. Get up and run again. No doubt you may lose few seconds or few minutes. That's okay. So we have to keep the momentum higher and higher and higher. Never lose hope. We should always be happy, cheerful, motivated, and re-energize ourselves, recharge our batteries. I am very, very, very positive about India, very positive about business, very positive about agriculture, very positive about something interesting which is going to happen in India in the next 10 years.
That's nice, Mr. Suresh.
Thank
With
you.
your inspiring story about the elephant, which most of the people they don't know their competence, their uh, so and apart from this, you have a very positive attitude toward our country, India, and as you said, most probably by 2030, we'll be on par with the other countries. Okay, Mr. Suresh, you have worked in a corporate or in a manufacturing and as well as in a telecom companies. Any specific incidents or some event that you want to tell to our viewers and how you coped up with the event or incident which happened in your lifetime, in your company lifetime?
I think that's a very interesting question because we should always understand each business is different. There are some businesses where you will have professionals and where you will have worker category people. For example, if you take up a cement industry, jute industry, garment industry, paper industry, there'll be a mix of people, highly qualified, semi-qualified, and not qualified people. Some people will be making use of their brains, some people will be making use of their hands, some people will be making use of both their brains and hands. Supposing you take up the case of information technology, IT, everybody is knowledgeable, everybody is a BE, everybody is an MCA. You don't have worker category there. So each sector is very different. I had the opportunity to work in manufacturing sector. Now I'm in IT sector also. So we are able to see the differences. Now coming to some interesting challenges, just remember when we are working in manufacturing sector, you have lots of laborers. How do you integrate them to the company? How do you make sure that they fall in line with the company's vision and mission? In 1950s, 1960s, 1970s, unfortunately, Indian manufacturing sector did not make its name in the world map because Made in India was never a brand, because in India, everything was revolving around strike, lockout, layoff, retrenchment.
Yeah.
Bombay was once the textile capital. Today, all textile companies are closed in Mumbai. Similarly, Kolkata was known for jute mills. All those jute mills got closed down because of wrong labor union practices. So I've had very interesting experiences with the unions. I've made them fall in
Can you
line
share
with
it?
the organization. Those were some interesting experiences. Similarly, when you come, I was working in the telecom sector, brand new sector. Before 1996, there was nothing called as mobile phone in India. Only 1% of the Indians had phones, and that was the landline or fixed phones. So, that was a very interesting sector. And today, almost, 98% of the Indians are having mobile phones. IT sector, we had to make the sector grow because software is something which you cannot see, you cannot touch, you cannot feel, but still it does miracles. So in 1970s, when the computers came, nobody had faith in this industry, and everybody in India went on strike, including banks, the telecom, the BSNL sector, and the students went on strike. They said computer down, down, computer down, down, because one computer could do the work of 100 people. But today, look at the way in which computers are doing their interesting services to all sections of the people. Banks
Now
are
the robo has
computerized.
come.
Yes,
Now
airlines
robots
are
have come.
computerized. Right. Tell me one area where people say, I don't want computers. Our booking system is, our payment systems through Google Pay. Earlier, we used to transfer only between bank and bank, company. Today, individuals can transfer money. All these things are the benefit of IT. So we had to train the entrepreneurs, train the employees to tell them that you're doing something very important, inform the government also to tell them that please nurture these industries, don't kill these industries. So today, the IT sector, which was once, where there was strike, where people felt that it's not required, today is employing more than 1 crore people. Bangalore alone has more than 10,000 IT companies. So like this,
So
lots of challenges in each sector was there, which to some extent, with the collective efforts of all senior people, we were able to influence the government, influence the entrepreneurs. And today, those sectors are all doing very well. So lots of interesting challenges I have faced in every sector, and we have overcome all those sectors very well. And today it's very vibrant. I was working in a company called Hindustan Photo Films where we had 9 unions: DMK, ADMK, BJP, Janata Dal, INTUC, AITUC, SIT2, Workers Welfare Union, and Senior Workers Welfare Union, negotiation with the unions, aligning them to the company. These are all very interesting challenges. But whereas in IT companies, thank God, we have fought with the
no
government
union.
and said, don't allow IT, don't allow these unions to come. That's why you don't have unions in Infosys, Wipro, Intel. Industrial Disputes Act is not applicable to them. So many interesting challenges to make industries grow, flourish, come up well. See, we should not talk about one Narayana Murthy, one Premji, and one Shivanadar, and one Tata, and one Birla. By this time, we should have had 50,000 Premjis, 50,000 Narayana Murthis, 50,000 Mukesh Ambanis, 50,000 Tatas. So we want more entrepreneurship. We are all working towards that to make India an entrepreneurial country. So lots of challenges are still ahead of us. Whatever we have done is very small. Lots more are there. That's why we want youngsters to embrace entrepreneurship.
Very true, very true. See, when we were young, when the computer came, they said now the people they won't get job. But even after computer, people are getting jobs. Yeah, that's nice. That's nice.
Yes, it is a job generator. It is generating jobs, more and more jobs. So therefore, unnecessary fear psychosis sometimes is there, which through education, which through proper, we have to change the perception of people, because sometimes there may be negative perceptions, right? These are all the interesting challenges which we will overcome
Yes,
very nicely.
yes, 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 yes. Very true, Mr. Suresh. Um, and what would you like to tell our viewers about about your life and how you achieve what all you achieved in your life? A brief description about that.
Uh, I think I'm a too small a man to talk
But still,
about
we want to hear about it.
achievements and to give any advice or admonishments. But as a concluding remark to that nice question, I would say all of us in this world, we are born to make ourselves happy. You may use hundreds of English words: happy, cheerfulness, motivated, bliss, joy. We do everything for happiness. You go to a restaurant, you want to have a nice
Yes.
buffet lunch or a buffet dinner costing 2000 rupees. Why? To make yourself happy. We go to a temple, church, or a mosque because we want to get peace of mind. Peace of mind ultimately is nothing but happiness. We would like to have a big house, we would like to have a motor car. Why? It gives us happiness. Ultimate uh, aim of all human beings is to be happy. We all get married to be happy. I met sannyasis who say that I have not got married. When I ask them the question, why you didn't get married, they say we want to be happy. So, dear friends, the beauty of life is to be happy. So many times we people postpone happiness. When you're in 8th standard, you're dying to come to 10th as though pleasure is there in 10th. When you're in 10th, you die to come to plus 2 as though happiness is in plus 2. When you're in plus 2, we look for graduation as though happiness is in graduation. When we are in graduate, we all want to come immediately to corporate. So every time I feel sometimes we keep postponing happiness. Then we think once we get married, we'll be happy. Then once we have children, we will be happy. See, this happiness is always a moving target. Once you reach one particular destination, you will find that happiness is further away. So, what is my simple message is please don't postpone happiness. Start life with happiness. We should be happy in whatever state of mind we are in now and at whatever age we are in. You may ask why we should start with happiness. Because research says only happy people are productive, happy people are efficient, happy people are more creative. That is why happiness is something which makes you more cheerful and motivated. That's one side. Secondly, it brings out the best in you. I worked in so many corporates. The people who are highly productive are not the sad people, are the happy people. All Nobel Prize winners are happy people. All Padma Bhushan, Padma Shri people are all happy people. Only when you are happy, you try to bring out the best in you and you always put your best foot forward and makes your life really meaningful. They made an interview of all the people who are above the age of 80, and that research came out with a startling revelation. Those people finally said, we do not know why we worried in life. We should not have worried so much. 10 years, 15 years we worried, 30 years we worried. So therefore, take away worry, be happy, be cheerful, be motivated. God has created all of us to be happy in this world. Enjoy the temporariness of everything. Parents are not according to choice, brother and sister not according to choice, place of birth not according to choice, date of death is not according to choice. Enjoy the mysteries of life. So, therefore, with these few words, let me close my concluding remarks. I would like to thank Dr. Srilata for giving an opportunity for sharing a few of my thoughts with you. And I'd like to sincerely thank all the viewers who are watching this program on this lovely day, January 1st, 2021. So may all good things happen to us. We require the blessings of God. Best wishes to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Suresh. It was an honor that you were here in this platform. And whatever you said, it's a really a nice talk show. And like you said, happiness. Today we should be happy. We don't have to worry about tomorrow or what happened yesterday, but we should be happy today. So with this happiness for this new year or for this 2021, I wish you all a happy and prosperous new year. And please do watch this program and comment on this. It's on live, it's on Facebook as well as on YouTube. Please tell your comments on this. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Mr. Suresh. Thank you.